Emberwing flew through the open sky of the Celestian area with slow, tired wings. The air was thin and cold at this height, but she did not care about the cold. She carried her small hatchling close to her chest, wrapped in a warm membrane of her own shimmering scales. The tiny creature chirped softly, too young to understand the danger surrounding them. Every star dragon in the area knew the rules. Eggs must be laid during the Great Alignment, the sacred season when their constellation rose bright in the sky. The elders believed that dragons born outside the proper season would grow weak, confused, or unable to join the ancient migrations written in the stars. Emberwing had never questioned the rules. She had always believed in them. She had always trusted the council. But life did not always follow rules. Her egg had come early. Too early. No magic, no tradition, no wish could stop it. And when her hatchling finally cracked the shell and gave its first soft cry, Emberwing felt only joy. Pure, warm joy. But the elders did not. Their reaction had been swift and cold like a winter wind. They gathered on the high platform of the celestial peak and called her forward. Dragons lined the cliffs around them, watching silently. Emberwing had stood before the council with her newborn pressed close to her chest. Still weak from the difficult hatching, High Elder Scifi, the oldest of them all, raised his long silver head. His voice echoed across the stone. Emberwing, daughter of Aurora lineage, you have broken the sacred timing. You have brought a life into this world before the stars gave permission. Emberwing shook where she stood. I did not choose this. My egg came early. The hatchling is healthy. Please. Please do not punish us. The laws are older than any of us, said another elder. Her scales glowing like pale moonlight. A dragon born out of season puts our migration at risk. The residents may destabilize, but she is only a newborn, Emberwing whispered. She has done nothing wrong. The fault lies with you. Scifi's eyes were hard. The area cannot keep you. You were exiled. Those words had struck her like a blade. Dragons round the cliffs shifted, but none stepped forward to defend her. None spoke. None protested. Emberwing had never felt so alone. She had spread her wings, holding her hatchling tight. Her voice had cracked. Where will I go? That is no concern of ours, Scifi replied. You must leave before the next sunrise. There had been no kindness, no understanding. Only cold tradition. And so Emberwing left. She rose into the darkening sky. Wings aching but determined. She flew past the crystal cliffs, past the glowing rivers of light, past everything she had called home. She did not look back. If she did, she feared she might fall apart. Hours passed. Her wings grew heavy. Her eyes burned with exhaustion. But she could not stop. Not while her hatchling's life depended on her. The little one was so small, so fragile, curling against her warmth with soft chirps. Emberwing whispered soothing sounds, though she was trembling inside. A strong wind pushed against her, making her glide sideways. Below her, the clouds parted, revealing the world far below, metal structures, artificial lights, and small moving machines. Human territory. She had never visited it. Dragons rarely interacted with humans. Some dragons even feared them, believing they were loud, unpredictable beings who lived too fast and broke too many things. But Emberwing had no place else to go. Her flight path wobbled. The long journey, the stress, and the pain from her injuries began to catch up with her. She had taken a harsh blow from the council guards during her forced departure. Her side still burned. I must keep going, she whispered, mostly to herself. For you, little one. Her hatchling let out a tiny, weak chirp. Emberwing angled her wings toward a cluster of lights on a large rock floating in space. It was not natural. It was a human outpost, built around a broken asteroid. The structure looked old, patched together with metal plates and cables. Smoke rose from one side. Parts of it flickered with blue sparks. It was not beautiful, not like the Eyrie, but it was something. A place she could try to rest. As she got closer, she saw faded letters painted on the metal surface. Outpost 17. Mechanical repair by repair. Station. That meant humans weren't there, humans who fixed machines. She wondered if they would fear her, or worse, attack her. Dragons were large, powerful, and sometimes misunderstood. A human might think she came with hostile intentions, but Emberwing had no choice. Her wings trembled too badly to keep flying. Her vision blurred. She angled down toward the docking platform. Alarms blared, red lights flashed. Mechanical arms unfolded from the walls, ready to defend the station. Emberwing tried to shout that she meant no harm, but a wave of dizziness washed over her. She hit the platform hard, metal cracking under her weight. Pain shot through her body. Her hatchling squeaked loudly in fright. Emberwing lifted her head just enough to shield her baby with her wing. The world around her swayed. She could barely hear the sound of footsteps and voices through the ringing in her ears. Ho! What in the galaxy? That's a dragon. Get the stun cannons. Move and no. Wait. Look, she's hurt. The voices approached. Emberwing bared her teeth weakly, not wanting to fight but wanting to protect her child. Her vision blurred again. The cold metal pressed against her scales. One voice stood out calmer. Steady. Lower your weapons. She's got a hatchling. The others hesitated. Jonas, are you sure? I'm sure. Look at her. She's not attacking. She's barely conscious. Through the haze, Emberwing managed to see a human walking toward her. He wore a scratched mechanic's suit, dark with grease stains. He didn't carry a weapon. Instead, he held a small scanner and a warm light. His eyes were gentle, filled with concern instead of fear. He knelt carefully near Emberwing's head. Easy now, he said softly. You're safe. I won't hurt you. Emberwing blinked slowly. Humans spoke so fast, but she understood enough. You. Help, she whispered in a quiet, raspy tone. Jonas nodded. Yes, I'll help. Her body loosened slightly at those words. She wanted to trust him, even if she didn't know him. Even if dragons and humans rarely ever worked together. Even if her heart still hurt from the council's rejection. Jonas lifted the warm light toward her injured side. She flinched, but his voice stayed calm. You've got some wounds. And you're a baby. Looks newly hatched. You must have come a long way. Emberwing swallowed a weak cry. Her wings drooped. I was cast out, she whispered. Jonas's brow furrowed with sympathy. I'm sorry. That sounds terrible. Emberwing gazed at him, surprised by his tone. No dragon elder had offered her that simple kindness. Not even once. She felt her chest tighten. But this time, it was not from fear or pain. It was from a strange warmth. Jonas looked over his shoulder. We need to bring her inside. Prepare the stabilizer room. And bring the thermal blankets. His team rushed to obey. Emberwing could barely keep her eyes open. She didn't know these humans. Didn't know their customs. Didn't know if they could truly help her. But she knew this. She had fallen. And he had reached out a hand instead of turning away. Her vision dimmed as she whispered one last thing. Please. Save my child. Jonas placed a steady hand on her injured scales. I will, he said. I promise. And with that, Emberwing finally let the darkness take her, trusting perhaps for the first time in her life that a stranger might show more kindness than an entire council. When Emberwing opened her eyes again, everything looked strange. She was no longer lying on the cold metal of the docking platform. Instead, she found herself in a wide room filled with warm lights. Soft machines hummed quietly around her. The air smelled clean and slightly metallic, but not unpleasant. Her wing rested on a thick blanket that felt warm against her sore scales. For a moment, she did not know where she was. Then the memories returned to exile. The long flight, the fall onto the human outpost platform. Panic rushed through her body. Her hatchling. Where was her hatchling? Her breathing quickened as she lifted her head, ignoring the pain that ran through her side. Easy. Easy, a familiar human voice said from nearby. Emberwing turned her head and saw Jonas standing beside her, still wearing his mechanic's suit. He looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes, as if he had been awake for a long time. But he also looked calm. He held a small tablet glowing with blue lights. Emberwing's voice cracked as she whispered one word. Hatchling? Jonas gently pointed to the corner of the room. There, resting inside a round warming chamber, was her baby. The tiny dragon was wrapped in soft fabric and lying under a warm glow. That kept its temperature stable. The hatchling chirped quietly, half asleep. Emberwing let out a long, shaky breath of relief. "He's safe," Jonas said with a soft smile. "Your little one is stronger than I expected." Emberwing tried to sit up, but her sore muscles trembled. Jonas stepped closer and raised a hand in a calming gesture. "Don't move too fast," he said. "You're still hurt. Some of your scales cracked when you hit the platform, and you lost a lot of energy during your flight." Emberwing lowered herself again. She was still weak, but at least she had her hatchling. She watched Jonas carefully. Humans moved differently than dragons. Their bodies were small, but their hands were skilled, and their expressions changed quickly. "You helped us," she whispered. Jonas nodded. "Of course. You were injured, and your baby needed warmth. I couldn't just watch." His tone was simple, as if helping a massive star dragon was no more unusual than repairing a broken machine. Emberwing did not understand this human's kindness, but she felt a quiet gratitude grow inside her. The room door slid open and more humans entered, carrying tools and small cases. They slowed when they saw Emberwing awake. "She's alert," Jonas told them. "Keep your movements gentle." The two nodded and checked some machines near Emberwing's side. She tensed but did not lash out. Their presence felt different from the dragons of the area. The elders had looked at her with disappointment and coldness. These humans looked at her with curiosity and caution, but also respect. One human, a woman with red hair tied back, gave Emberwing a small smile. "Your child is adorable," she said softly. Emberwing blinked. Dragons rarely spoke gently to each other, especially in public settings. This human seemed genuinely kind. "What is this place?" Emberwing asked. Jonas stepped forward, placing his tablet aside. "This is Repair Bay 2. He explained. "We fix small ships and damaged cargo pods here. It's not very fancy, but the stabilizer room has good heat and clean air, so we brought you here." Emberwing looked around. The walls were curved and lined with pipes. A large oval window showed the stars outside. Machines beeped quietly at steady intervals, monitoring her pulse and body temperature. "But why?" Emberwing asked slowly. "Why care for me? I am not. You're kind." Jonas shrugged lightly. "You needed help." "That's enough." Emberwing stared at him. Dragons rarely worked this way. Everything in the area depended on long traditions, ancient laws, and formal rules. Kindness was often hidden beneath formality. Help was given only if the council approved it. Humans seemed to act differently, faster, more direct. It unsettled her, but at the same time, it warmed her heart. Jonas walked closer to the warming chamber and checked the hatchling's temperature. The little dragon chirped and tried to lift its tiny head. Jonas smiled. "He's a strong little one," he said. "Does he have a name?" Emberwing hesitated. Dragons were not supposed to name their hatchlings until the first migration cycle. But she was no longer part of the area. She had been cast out. The rule no longer applied. "Starlight," she said softly, "because he came too early, before his star season." Jonas looked thoughtful. "Starlight. That's a beautiful name." The hatchling chirped again, as if agreeing. For a long moment, Emberwing simply watched her baby resting safely in the warm glow. She remembered the fear she had felt when the egg cracked early. The panic, the elders' angry faces, the cold wind as they sent her away. Her heart tightened with sadness. But then she heard Jonas speak again. "You're safe now," he said gently. "No one here will hurt you." His words were simple, but they felt powerful. Emberwing bowed her head slightly, showing gratitude. For the next few hours, Emberwing remained awake while the humans worked carefully around her. Jonas moved between different machines, checking readings, adjusting heat levels, and repairing a small dent in her scale armor. His hands were steady, showing both skill and patience. "You fix machines," Emberwing said after watching him for a while. "Why help a dragon?" Jonas chuckled softly. "Machines don't talk back. Dragons do." She tilted her head. "Is that good?" "It's interesting," he said with a grin. "And honestly, I've never seen a star dragon up close." "You're incredible." "Not scary at all." Emberwing blinked, surprised. Most creatures feared dragons. Even other dragons feared each other at times. Humans were supposed to be nervous around her size and power. You are not afraid? She asked. Jonas looked at her, then at the small hatchling. You came here with a baby, he said. Anyone who carries a child like that isn't dangerous. Just tired. His simple view of things made Emberwing feel something she hadn't felt since her exile. A small spark of hope. Later, when the room grew quieter, Emberwing gathered her courage and asked the question that had been haunting her. Will your people allow me to stay for a short time? Jonas stopped adjusting a monitor and turned to look at her. His expression softened. You can stay as long as you need, he said. Outpost 17 doesn't get many visitors, and we don't turn away someone in need. Emberwing felt her chest loosen. Relief washed over her. For the first time since leaving the Eyrie, she felt she might have a place to rest, even if only temporarily. But I must warn you, Jonas added. This station is old. Things break often. Supplies are limited. And we're just a small repair crew. She slowly nodded. I do not need much. Only safety. For my hatchling. You have that, Jonas said. His certainty made her believe him. Hours passed. Jonas worked tirelessly, repairing Emberwing's cracked scales with a special gel that hardened into a protective layer. The red-haired woman, Mira, adjusted the warming chamber so Starlight could rest comfortably. Another human brought metal bowls of warm nutrient gel meant for large alien species. Emberwing sniffed the gel cautiously. It smelled strange but harmless. She ate slowly, feeling strength return to her body. Jonas watched with relief. Good. You need energy. Emberwing swallowed a mouthful and looked at him. Jonas, she said carefully, your kindness is unusual. Jonas lifted an eyebrow. Unusual? In my home, Emberwing explained, rules come before compassion, tradition before choice. When my hatchling came early, the elders saw only a broken rule, not a life. Jonas's face tightened with sadness. That sounds painful. It was, she whispered. But you looked at us and saw something else? Jonas smiled gently. I saw a mother protecting her child. Nothing more complicated than that. Emberwing felt warmth rise in her heart again. Humans, she thought, were strange, but perhaps in a good way. As the artificial lights dimmed to mimic nighttime, Emberwing lowered her head onto the soft blanket. Starlight slept peacefully in the warming chamber, tiny wings tucked close. Jonas prepared to leave the room to rest. He paused at the door and looked back at her. Get some sleep, he said kindly. You're safe here. Emberwing blinked slowly. Jonas, thank you. He gave a small nod. Anytime. The door slid shut behind him. For a long time, Emberwing lay still, listening to the soft hum of machines. She thought about the Eyrie, the cold faces of the elders, the harsh words of exile. A sharp ache remained in her heart, but the room around her felt warm and peaceful. Perhaps fate had pushed her here. Perhaps losing her home had opened a path she never expected. As she drifted into sleep, Emberwing curled her tail around herself and whispered softly toward her resting hatchling. We will make a new life. Somehow, and for the first time since her exile, she believed it. The next morning in Outpost 17 began with a soft vibration that spread through the metal walls. Emberwing opened her eyes quickly, instincts sharp. She raised her head and looked around the warm stabilizer room. Small lights blinked calmly on the machines. Nothing seemed wrong at first, but the soft vibration continued, growing slightly stronger. Starlight, her tiny hatchling, stirred inside the warming chamber and made a soft chirping sound. Emberwing reached out with her wing and tapped the glass gently. It is all right, she whispered. I am here. Before she could wonder what caused the vibration, the door slid open. Jonas stepped inside, holding a data pad with a tense expression. You're awake, he said. That's good. We have a problem. Emberwing straightened her neck. Problem? Jonas nodded and walked closer. Something is happening near your home area. Near the Eyrie, a cold tightness filled Emberwing's chest. What do you mean? Jonas placed the data pad on a small table and turned the screen toward her. Emberwing leaned forward, eyes narrowing. The display showed a wide field of stars with bright lines of energy moving in chaotic patterns. Waves of cosmic light rippled outward, spreading faster than normal star winds. This, Jonas explained, is a cosmic storm, and it's growing fast. Emberwing felt her scales prickle with fear. Those patterns, they are not natural. I thought the same, Jonas said. The storm is forming in a way we don't usually see. And he tapped the screen, zooming in. It's moving toward the Celestianary. Emberwing's breath caught. The Aerie might have exiled her, but she still cared deeply about the other dragons living there, her family. Her old friends, the young ones preparing for their first flight. And even though the elders had turned their backs on her, she worried for them too. The storm. Jonas continued, "We'll reach your homeland in a few days. Maybe sooner." Emberwing lowered her head. "The elders, they will not be ready." Jonas tilted his head. "Why aren't they strong?" "They are strong," Emberwing said quietly. "But the storm's pattern. I know this resonance. Only dragons born out of season can calm such waves. Our birth timing gives unique energy. The elders fear it, but they also depend on it during rare storms." Jonas blinked. "Wait, does that mean?" "It means starlight," Emberwing whispered, "has the resonance they need." A heavy silence filled the room. Jonas crossed his arms. "But they exiled you. Why should you help them after what they did?" Emberwing looked down at her sleeping hatchling. "Because the Aerie is still home to many innocent dragons. They do not deserve harm." Jonas sighed and lowered himself onto a nearby stool. He looked thoughtful. "You're kinder than your elders," he said softly. Emberwing closed her eyes for a moment. "I only do what I must." The room fell quiet as they both considered the situation. Starlight chirped softly in his sleep, unaware of the danger his birthplace faced. Later that day, Jonas gathered the crew of Outpost 17 in one of the big repair rooms. Emberwing stayed in the stabilizer room with Starlight, but she could hear faint echoes of their meeting through the thin walls. "We need to do something," Jonas said firmly. "The Aerie may not accept Emberwing or her hatchling, but they're still living creatures in danger." "But what can we do?" Mira asked. "We're mechanics, not heroes," Jonas replied. "Maybe we don't need to be heroes. We just need the right idea. For a long time." Emberwing listened as they discussed possibilities, sending warnings, calling for help, or building something to protect the Aerie. Their voices blended with the soft hum of machines. She felt grateful that these humans cared even a little. Then Jonas's voice rose above the others. "What if we use the old gravitational stabilizers?" He said. "We can turn them into a resonance amplifier." Emberwing's eyes opened wide. A resonance amplifier? She knew what that meant. Humans use stabilizers to keep stations steady in unstable zones. If modified, they could amplify natural energy patterns, including the unique resonance of an out-of-season hatchling like Starlight. But the idea was dangerous. The humans might overload the station. And Emberwing and Starlight would have to be near the amplifier. Still, it might work. An hour later, Jonas returned to the stabilizer room, his face bright with determination. "Emberwing," he said, "we have a plan." She lowered her head. "I heard. You wish to create a resonance amplifier." Jonas nodded. "It's risky, but it could protect the Aerie from the storm." Emberwing stared at the glowing window. "The elders will refuse to listen to you. That's why we won't go just as humans," Jonas said. "We'll go as a team. You, me, Starlight, together." Emberwing blinked in surprise. "You wish to travel with me?" "Of course," Jonas said. "You shouldn't face them alone, and you shouldn't carry all the risk yourself." Her heart softened. "You are brave, Jonas." He scratched the back of his neck. "Maybe I'm just stubborn." For the first time since she had arrived at the outpost, Emberwing felt a strange mix of fear and hope. Fear of returning to a place that had rejected her. Hope that maybe this journey could change something. For the next 2 days, the humans worked endlessly. They dragged old machines from storage, repaired broken circuits, and connected wires thicker than Emberwing's claws. The outpost buzzed with activity. Emberwing watched Jonas and Mira as they checked the stabilizer core. Sparks flew as they welded plates and tightened bolts. Will it be strong enough? Emberwing asked. Jonas wiped sweat from his forehead. If everything works, yes. If not, he didn't finish the sentence. Emberwing knew the answer. They would be risking the entire outpost. We must succeed, she said firmly. Jonas gave a small smile. We will. Meanwhile, Starlight grew more active each day. The tiny hatchling moved his wings, chirped happily, and even nuzzled Emberwing's snout when she touched the warming chamber's glass. He is strong, Emberwing said proudly. Jonas nodded. And brave. Just like his mother. Emberwing lowered her gaze shyly. Praise from a human felt strange, but warm. When the machine was finally ready, Jonas asked Emberwing to stand near the center of the stabilizer room. Thick cables ran from the machine to a new circular platform created for the amplifier. Starlight will sit here with you, Jonas explained. His energy will guide the device. Emberwing looked at the complicated array of metal rods and glowing crystals. I trust you, she said quietly. Jonas gave her a confident nod. Then let's start. They placed baby Starlight on a soft pad inside a protective unit. When the machine turned on, a soft hum filled the room. Lights flickered. The air felt warm and electric. Emberwing felt her scales vibrate gently. The machine absorbed the hatchling's natural resonance soft, pure, and delicate and amplified it through the cables, making the light in the room shimmer in time with Starlight's heartbeat. It's working, Mira said. But suddenly a bright spark burst from the main console. Jonas jumped back. The power coil is unstable. Emberwing tensed. Is it dangerous? It could overload, Jonas said quickly. But don't panic. I can fix it. He rushed toward the console, hands moving rapidly over wires and switches. Emberwing watched with growing worry. You take great risk, she said. Jonas glanced back at her. So are you? A moment later he pressed the final switch. The machine stabilized. The hum softened. The lights steadied. Starlight chirped peacefully, unaware of the danger. Jonas breathed out. Okay, we're good. Emberwing let out a long breath of relief. The resonance was strong enough to create a protective wave around the area. It might not stop the entire storm, but it would weaken it enough to save countless lives. We must go, Emberwing said. Before the storm reaches them, Jonas nodded. Then let's prepare the ship, Emberwing blinked. Ship, he smiled. You didn't think I was going to ride on your back, did you? I'm not that brave. Emberwing actually felt a light laugh rise inside her. She had not laughed since the day of her exile. A few hours later, Jonas guided Emberwing toward the docking bay. There, a small human craft waited, a patchwork vessel with new panels and glowing blue stabilizers. I rebuilt it myself, Jonas explained proudly. I added a seat strong enough for your size, and the resonance devices mounted inside. Emberwing stared at the vessel. You made a ship. For us, Jonas shrugged. We're a team now. Emberwing carefully climbed onto the platform attached to the ship. The vessel hummed as it powered on. Starlight, safe in his warm chamber, chirped softly beside her. Jonas entered the cockpit and strapped himself in. Ready? He asked, voice steady. Emberwing looked out into the star-filled sky ahead. Ready. With a deep, steady roar, the ship rose from the outpost and shot into the open sky, toward the area, toward danger, toward a chance to change everything. The small patchwork ship moved through the star-filled sky like a glowing spark. Emberwing sat secured on the reinforced platform, feeling the engines hum beneath her. The stars passed by in silver streaks, and the deep darkness of space stretched endlessly in every direction. Jonas sat in the cockpit at the front, hands steady on the controls. He was calm, but his eyes showed focus and determination. Starlight rested safely in his warm chamber beside Emberwing. Tiny wings curled peacefully. Emberwing looked ahead, her heart tight. Her home, the Celestian area, was still far, but closer than it had been for many days. She could almost feel its distant energy. Jonas spoke through the communicator. We'll reach the area in about 2 hours. But the storm is moving faster too. Emberwing's scales shifted anxiously. The storm will arrive before nightfall, and we'll be there, Jonas replied. His tone was soft but firm. We're not turning back. Emberwing watched his small human figure and felt a deep respect warm her chest. Humans were strange, but their courage was steady. Their hearts burned strong even in small bodies. She whispered, "Thank you, Jonas." He didn't look back, but she saw his shoulders relax a little. "We're a team, Emberwing. That's all." As they approached the outer rings of her homeland, Emberwing felt a familiar vibration in the air, energy that belonged to the Eyrie. But something else was mixed in, something unstable. Jonas frowned at his screen. The storm is already touching the outer peaks. Through the ship's window, Emberwing saw the glowing clouds swirling violently around the Eyrie. Purple lightning streaked across the sky. Winds of cosmic dust whipped against the cliffs she once walked upon. She felt a sharp pain in her heart. "They are not ready. We'll help them," Jonas said. "Just hold tight." He flew the ship closer, shielding it as best as he could. Suddenly, a burst of bright energy hit them from the side. The ship shook hard. Starlight chirped in fright. "Easy, little one," Emberwing said, trying to keep her voice steady. Jonas quickly corrected the ship's direction. "It's all right. We're stable." And then Emberwing saw at the great celestial peak where the elders stood during important gatherings, the same platform from where she had been exiled. The storm clouds twisted above it, glowing unnaturally. The dragons of the Eyrie flew around in desperate circles, trying to push back the energy waves with their own resonance beams. But the storm was too strong. Their voices clashed and broke apart. Their wings struggled against the fierce winds. "They cannot hold it back," Emberwing whispered. Jonas tightened his grip on the controls. Time to help them. He landed the ship on a flat stone area near the main ridge. The moment they touched down, Emberwing unstrapped herself and stepped onto the cliff. The wind hit her face hard, cold and sharp. Starlight's chamber was locked into a protective harness. Jonas had attached to her back. Dragons nearby gasped and flew backward, shocked to see Emberwing return. "She has come back. Why is she here? Look, she brought a human." Emberwing ignored the startled cries. She pushed forward, her wings beating against the powerful wind. Jonas followed behind, carrying a heavy device, the resonance amplifier core. "Where's the council?" She called out over the storm. A group of dragons flew down to meet her. Emberwing recognized them, old friends, younger dragons, and even some elders. One elder with pale blue scales shouted, "Why have you returned?" "You were exiled." Emberwing raised her head proudly. "I have returned because the Eyrie is in danger." Another elder scoffed. "You broke tradition." "You?" Jonas stepped forward, holding the amplifier core firmly. "With respect," he said loudly. "This is not the time for arguments." The dragons turned, stunned that a human dared speak. Jonas continued, "Your storm is unstable. It's feeding from cosmic resonance. You can't stop it alone." An elder narrowed his eyes. "And why would a human know anything about our storm?" Emberwing spread her wings, creating a shield around Jonas as the wind roared harder. "He knows," she said, "because he helped build a device powerful enough to save the Eyrie." The dragons murmured in confusion. One younger dragon asked, "What device?" Jonas lifted the core. "A resonance amplifier. It can strengthen your protective barrier, but it needs a dragon's unique energy, one born out of season." The elders froze. Their eyes turned toward Emberwing's back, toward the small chamber where Starlight rested. "You brought the hatchling?" An elder whispered. Emberwing nodded. "Starlight's resonance is the key." The wind roared again, shaking the cliffs. Lightning cracked the air above them. There was no more time to argue. Scifi, the silver-scaled high elder, finally stepped forward. His face carried both pride and regret. "Emberwing, we may have made mistakes, but the storm will tear the Eyrie apart if we do nothing." Emberwing breathed slowly. "Then let us save it, together." Scifi hesitated, then nodded. Jonas quickly began assembling the amplifier. A circular base unfolded. Metal rods extended and began to glow. Emberwing lowered Starlight carefully onto the warm central platform. The tiny hatchling opened his bright eyes and let out a soft, trembling chirp. "It's all right," Emberwing whispered. "You will help all of us." Millions of tiny sparks of light rose from the platform as Starlight's resonance awakened. His heartbeat matched the rhythm of the storm's waves. Jonas shouted over the growing wind, "It's working." Emberwing, connect with him. Emberwing stepped closer, touching her wingtip gently to Starlight's side. A soft pulse traveled from her body into the amplifier. The rods glowed brighter. Dragons watched in awe. The air vibrated with a harmonious sound, a mix of Emberwing's strong energy and Starlight's pure resonance. Jonas adjusted the final switch. Stand back. A blast of light shot upward. Dragons cried out. The storm clouds above them paused, then trembled. Emberwing felt energy rush through her wings. She spread them wide, releasing a powerful beam of her own resonance. Now, she shouted. All dragons in the area lifted into the air. Their voices joined with Emberwing's beam. Together, dragon energy and human-built technology formed a massive shield of shimmering light. The storm crashed against it, but the shield held. Lightning struck. Wind screamed. The sky shook. But the resonance grew stronger. Starlight chirped louder, his tiny heart glowing like a star reborn. The storm pushed. Again. The shield pushed back. And finally, the storm broke apart into fading light. Silence followed. The sky calmed. The dangerous clouds dissolved into harmless dust sparkling in the air. The area was safe. Dragons slowly landed on the cliffs, exhausted but alive. Emberwing collapsed to her knees, tired but relieved. Jonas rushed to her side. You did it, he said softly. You both did. Emberwing looked at him with warm eyes. We did it, thanks to your courage. Starlight chirped proudly from his chamber. The elders approached. Their expressions were different now, softer, humbled. Scifi bowed his head deeply. Emberwing, we wronged you. We followed tradition without understanding your courage. Your hatchling saved us all. Emberwing held her breath. Then, what will you do? Scifi turned to the other elders. They nodded slowly. Your exile is ended, he said. You and your hatchling are welcome in the area once again. Gasps came from the crowd. Jonas smiled quietly. Emberwing lowered her head. Thank you, but there is more, Scifi added. He looked at Jonas. This human mechanic risked his life for us. He showed kindness we did not deserve. The elders bowed their heads toward Jonas. We offer him the honor of the area. Jonas blinked. What does that mean? Emberwing smiled warmly. It means you are a friend of Dragonkind and welcome here always. Jonas let out a soft laugh. That's a big honor. Emberwing leaned down and touched her snout gently to Jonas's shoulder. Dragon gesture of deep respect. You will always have a place with us. Jonas touched her scale gently. And you'll always have a place with me. The storm was gone. The area stood strong. And for the first time in her life, Emberwing felt truly seen, not as a mistake, not as a rule breaker, but as a mother, a protector, and a dragon of great worth. With Jonas beside her and Starlight in her care, she looked toward the sky.